We are online now. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? I just have to give me 5 minutes. I need to share it because this is going to be amazing and awesome show ever. I am with the queen herself. This is so amazing. I just need to share this online quickly before we go. I just want you to sit back, relax, and just watch her flowing. I'm so happy to have her real life with Shion Obajulu. Thank you so much, my queen sister, for being here and honor this with me. I'm so happy, really.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I need to quickly share this.
No problem.
We are on Facebook and YouTube already. I'm so happy.
Okay.
Woo-hoo.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Okay, I'm looking for it now.
It's on the page.
Okay, on life assurance page.
No, the Barafumi page is on YouTube as
Okay.
well, but I'm
Okay.
putting it. Let me. Oh, yeah, life assurance page. Yes.
Okay. All right. My Facebook is reloading. I don't know why it's doing that now. Well, I'll be patient. Okay, there we go.
Yes. Me too. I just share it now.
Did you tag me?
Wow, this is what I've been waiting for so long. I've been waiting for this. I know a lot of people also have been waiting for this.
Thank you. Okay.
Wow.
Did you tag Sister Deborah? Did you tag me on the show?
Let me tag you.
Okay, because I'm trying to find it.
Oh, I'm coming. Let me quickly tag you. Dim, 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 dim. Oh no, what's going on?
Yeah, because I don't even see the show. Is it on Deborah Mopapa?
Yes, on the Brahman Papa.
Yeah.
On the page, the one I use for life assurance. Do you see it?
I don't see it, but let's keep going. Maybe when
Oh my God.
It's okay.
Okay, let me try again. I just want to try it again. Let me quickly try it.
Okay.
I think I should be able to do it now. Yes, I just did now.
All right, there we go. I see it now. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I'm trying to share it all.
Join me live as we speak on domestic violence.
Yes, I know people are coming online already. Thank you so much for joining. Good day to everyone. Today is one of the best moments on assurance because I have a wonderful woman with me. She's amazing. A woman with very great personality on the show today with a different office. She has devoted her time to empower women across the world. I'm so happy to have this woman with me. She did not start us there. Look at that. She's a international speaker. She has a show. Yeah, a coach. Oh my gosh, she is an amazing woman. I'm going to be talking about the danger of domestic. Oh my God, marriage and relationship.
Yes.
I always follow her on her page, all what she's doing, and I know you learn a lot today. I've been waiting for this, and many of you, I know you have been waiting for this as well. I can't wait to dig in and continue talking about this. How are you doing, my sister? I'm so
I am amazing, amazing. I feel great. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. And because I know you're also a phenomenal woman doing great things. So apart from being my sister and friend, you're also somebody that I totally look up to, and you inspire me daily. So it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm really happy.
Yes.
Really amazing. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I know a lot of people, you're going to learn a lot from her today. I've been waiting for this, and one topic that really mattered to me personally. And I know she's so good on it, and she's a coach. And I want her to talk many things about it. Dig it, talk to her. I mean, different question. If you want to send question to us, please do it. I'm waiting for it. Sister Shum, what do you think about domestic violence?
Domestic violence. Oh my God, Sister Deborah. This is something, when you talk about me and getting my voice on social media, this happens to be one of those topics that actually gave me a voice. Because I remember clearly around 2016 was when I had the first domestic violence awareness tour in Nigeria. It was not even very open or, loudly spoken about as it is now. I remember then when we went to Nigeria, I went on these various TV shows and radio stations. People were kind of shocked, like, okay, who is this woman talking about domestic violence? What does she mean? And, I got a lot of backlash then because honestly, I think the first few shows that we did, it was mostly men that were calling. And they were calling just to challenge me, like, what are you talking about? Things happen. This is what our mothers were used to. Nobody complained. So why are you complaining about, domestic violence, So I'm sharing that to explain that this is always been a passion.
You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry to interrupt. You're so beautiful.
Right. Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you. So this is always something that I've always been very passionate about. Like, okay, let's get this word out there. Domestic violence is not the mind of God. It does not align with what God says when we talk about marriage. So why should it now be accepted as a norm? So I totally stand against domestic violence, and I would never ever encourage
it. Wow, thank you so much. I want you to talk more about it. What are the dangers of domestic violence?
What are the dangers of domestic violence? Why don't we start by trying to get an understanding of what domestic violence is? Hold on, let me turn this volume down. Okay, so can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing very well.
Okay, all right. So domestic violence is, according to Wikipedia, is saying that it's often used as a synonym for intimate partner violence, which is committed by a spouse or partner in an intimate relationship against the other spouse, right? So basically, and it can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be emotional, reproductive. They even went further and said sexual, religious, and all kinds. And they now talked about marital rape as part of domestic violence. So basically, this is when one partner inflicts a lot of abuse on the other partner, causing them to live in fear constantly. And abuse can be, when we talk about domestic violence, people think, oh wow, are you referring to only when they hit each other? No, domestic violence is not only about when you hit each other, which leads us to talk about verbal and emotional abuse. Even let's talk about the Bible now. The Bible talks about the power of the tongue and the effect of what it can have on us. So imagine a partner, a husband, wife, who constantly talks down on their spouse, constantly abuses them, constantly insults them, and they've lived with this for years. Imagine the damage it can do on their spouse. So the dangers of it is it can cause your partner. Let's talk about death first. Death. Um, Physical
Mm,
abuse can lead to death, which is the ultimate, the what can happen. Recently, we had a case that happened about a month ago where a 29-year-old sister, God bless her
mm,
soul and may her soul rest in peace. It's sad that we're talking about such a very promising life, talking about her in past tense now, because
mm.
she was gruesomely,
My
when I
God.
talk about gruesomely murdered by her baby father. Baby father, because they've been in a relationship for so long, there's been abuse going on. She was not able to leave the relationship, but she had two children for him. And he eventually invited her
No.
over. And gruesomely, when I say gruesomely, it was terrifying to see. I mean, pulled up every braids from my hair. I don't even want to, because in case family members was be listening, but it was a gruesome way to even kill
Oh my God.
anyone. And then when he killed her, he now killed himself. Okay, so that's the ultimate that we have to talk about, that we
Wow.
cannot avoid or totally act like it's not happening. Death is the ultimate that can happen, one of the dangers. And another danger is it can actually totally destroy the other person's self esteem, self confidence. It can affect their mental health. You might get married to
Mm,
somebody who is very boisterous, who is always happy, always excited, energetic, has always wants to live life in a happy mode, and all of a sudden you notice that this person stopped being who they are. They became a shadow of themselves. Domestic violence can cause that, can cause a shift in their mental state. So we cannot
mm,
underestimate or under talk about the effect or the dangers of domestic violence.
mhm. Wow. 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 This is so. Do you think that this domestic violence is it just based on the woman aspect, or just is it concern just only women?
Absolutely not.
Does it
As
affect men as well?
And I love that you asked that question, because when we talk about domestic violence, because
Mm,
statistically, more women than men report domestic violence. Statistically, more women than men are vocal and voice out about what they're going through. Now, because of that, we have an increased
mm,
number of women who are reported to be involved in domestic violence. Now, because of that, a lot of people confuse it and think only women
mm,
are victims of domestic violence, and that's absolutely not correct. The only thing is, it's very underreported
mm.
by men who are going through domestic violence for fear of being ridiculed by the society, by fellow men who hear and be like, "What are you saying? Are you telling me your wife beat you up? Really?" And that ego does not allow men report it. That's why it's not reported as frequently as women. So basically, what I'm saying is, it's not only limited to women. Men also are victims of domestic violence. Women also are abusers. Yeah, it's tough to hear, but it's true. There are some
Wow.
marriages, some
Wow.
relationships where the woman is the abuser and the aggressor.
Well, because somebody just comment now said that this topic is just referred to women, that it's kind of people are siding women. That's why I say that.
No, no.
I
And
want to
thank you
ask this question. Do
for
some women provoke this violence and not?
hmm, hmm. Do some women promote violence by nagging? This is one in my history of talking about domestic
They
violence.
provoke it?
Do they provoke it?
Mm,
Okay. This is
yeah.
one topic or one particular aspect that I am always wary about talking about. Okay. And the reason
Okay.
I say that is nothing should what's that word? Nothing should promote domestic violence. Nothing
Yeah.
should, I can't find the word, but it will come to me. There's nothing that should encourage it. So, us now trying to say, well, does anything provoke domestic violence? might be just encouraging people and saying, well, it's okay for us to do it. So let's quickly clarify that before I now answer it. Now, when we talk about nagging, do some women provoke it? Do some women nag it? Nag. Listen, when it comes to a woman who puts a hand on somebody and gets beaten up, definitely that person also is an abuser. You're not going to come to me and say, oh, I hit my husband and then he beat me back, so I'm a victim of domestic violence. You yourself, you're an abuser. Let me just put that straight to you. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Now, when it comes to nagging or talking, come on now. Women are known for our mouths. We're known for, we don't have physical, a lot of women don't have physical strength. And apologies to feminists. I'm feminist also. My daughter, she hears that now. She come out and say, Mom, what are you talking about? A lot of women, because of our defects, you know, where we kind of lack when it comes to physical strength, we have our strength is our tongues, our mouth. So many of us, the power is just in, let's just talk about it. Okay, I'm going to nag this man. I will nag you. That is not enough reason for you to say you're going to hit your woman. That is not enough reason for you to say, oh, she provoked me. Yes, things happen. Now, this is what I put to men out there who come out and say, oh, my wife provoked me by what she was saying to me. When you work and you have a female boss at work, and your female boss says things to you, do you use your hands on her? No, you don't. Because you know that you will not get away with that. Because you know that you are afraid of losing your job. So are you now saying that you respect your job more than you respect your marriage? Or you respect your job more than the woman who you call your wife and you exchange vows with? So this is what I always ask men to think about when you say, oh, my wife provoked me. No. There are better ways that we can deal with that. Walk away from the house. Walk away. Stay in your room and don't even talk to her for 2 days if you want to. That is enough than putting your hands on her or violating her physically.
Wow, I love it. You really point to some points about it, because sometimes, you know, as you just say, that women sometimes we as a women, we just want to be kind of, okay, I'm going to provoke this person. Right. So it's not enough for a man to eat his wife.
It's not. No.
Thank you.
Never no excuse to hit your wife.
My next question, he hasn't actually hit me. Does that mean it's not domestic violence? Or how can a woman notice domestic violence signal when she needs help?
We get that a lot. From a lot of women who are not educated enough on domestic violence. The question is, it has not actually hit me, so does that mean it's domestic violence? Absolutely. I talked about that in the beginning when I said physical abuse, domestic abuse is not only physical. It's also verbal, it's also emotional. Emotional, unfortunately, as much as people don't talk about it, is actually can be termed to be worse than physical, because what is happening is more people are going through emotional abuse, right? Because when we talk about physical abuse, the scars are there. You can see it. And when it's taken care of, it heals. Emotional, on the other hand, is an invisible scar that nobody sees. And because people do not see that physical scar, they kind of disregard it, and people don't take you seriously, and people don't listen to you. So you just find that you're dealing with that pain internally, and nobody sees it. And it's actually worse, and it's destroying you on the inside, and you're now a shadow of yourself. People look at you and they're wondering what is wrong with you. Let me talk about something that people might be sensitive to. Some people, you know how people say, oh, that woman she looked more beautiful, or that man used to be more handsome than when they got married. Marriage has somehow changed them. What happened to them?
Oh my God.
We need to go and check that kind of marriage. Like, what is actually going on? And sadly, unfortunately, there are a lot of marriages and again, no offense, in the African culture, where you'll find that the people, when they get married, they become a shadow of themselves. You go back and you wonder what happened to you. Well, that's because they have a lot of hidden pain and scars that's probably from abuse, mental abuse, physical, emotional abuse that they cannot talk about.
Wow. So how can they notice? How do you think that they can feel like, yes, I'm going through this and I need help? What are the signs? Is there any signal?
And this is supposed to be directed to those of us around these people. Okay, because again, the person who is the victim, one might not actually understand that they are in a domestic violence situation. Two might be afraid to actually ask for help because they're afraid of repercussion from the abuser. Three, because we have this thing about protecting our marriages and fighting for your marriage, no matter what, because of the kind of conditioning we have culturally, spiritually, religiously, society wise, people do not want to acknowledge that they're being abused. Now, this is why I'm saying this particular question is directed to those of us around these people because they might not physically come out to ask for help. We need to be in tune with each other. That's why, nowadays, social media, virtual world has kind of taken over from physical contact, one-on-one contact. So sometimes it's easy to miss it. You might find a woman on social media or a man who puts pictures, she's painted. Once we do our makeup masks a lot of things, right? And they dress good. Look at how I decked up coming on your show. When I post a picture, I'm gonna get a lot of likes. People are gonna say, "Oh, you look so beautiful," but they might not know the pain I'm dealing with now. What responsibility do you and I have? You know this person. You've known that they used to be boisterous. They used to be energetic. They used to be happy a lot of times. And you know that somehow they kind of withdrew and went into their shells. They stopped calling you. One important factor or that abusers use against their victims is they kind of look for a way to kind of separate them from families, that they keep them physically away. They have a way to make sure they don't keep in contact with their family members, with their friends, and because that way they are not able to ask for help and they can inflict as much pain as they can on them without them seeking help. So we need to be in tune. This person that used to call me a lot of times just suddenly stopped calling me. When I call her, she does not take my calls, or he'll quickly say, "You know what, let me call you back. I can't talk right now." Those are things that we need to look out for that might signal that this person needs help. And when you notice that, it's not only left for you to notice. Start sending text messages or reach out to them. How are you doing? You don't want to assume or speculate anything, but just the fact that you're reaching out, encourage them to actually speak up and say, "Hey, I need help. This is what I'm going through."
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really like that.
Yes, ma'am.
My next question is: domestic violence a learned behavior? Do you think that they learned the attitude of being domestic violence?
That is actually a very, very dicey one, and a great question. Domestic violence can actually be learned, and I'll tell you why I said that. Again, remember I mentioned at the beginning of the show that many of us, especially from a certain culture, African culture, not even only African, some of us grew up in an environment where I never saw it. I never saw my dad put his hands on my mom, thankfully. And she's here, she can verify. And I never saw it. So, but some people unfortunately saw it. Some people saw that as a regular. That's what they grew up to see. Imagine a male child seeing his dad constantly putting his hands on his mom, and nobody comes to correct that. He grows conditioned to think that's acceptable. That's a normal way to do it. After all, my dad did that. It's a way of correcting my wife. If that happens. That's how my dad corrected. Imagine the female child. The female child grows up to see that also. She's also conditioned to think, well, maybe this is a normal and acceptable part of marriage. Then I should accept it. And you can even find that a girl child too, seeing their mom being beaten up, can actually grow up to be aggressive themselves and might actually end up being the abuser in their own marriages because it's which is why, as parents now in this generation, it's always important. Let me take us a little bit let's use an example of a school system abroad, in the Western world. I don't know if this is the same thing in Nigeria or African countries now. The first things they teach these children from kindergarten is everybody keep your hands to yourself. Yeah. They hammer it to them. That's one of the first things that's told. And when it happens, they make sure that these children do not get away with it. Either they go on detention or they can even be suspended or expelled if they put their hands on another child. That probably leads to injury. So imagine if we are doing the same thing in the home and I do the same thing in my home. I tell my children, everybody put your hands to yourself. Don't put your hands on anybody. And that's conditioning my kids to see, you know what? I should not do that. It's not right. We also need to learn that we're not doing that. So yes, domestic violence can be a learned behavior.
Wow. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much. My next question is, does alcohol or drugs cause domestic violence?
Does alcohol cause it? Alcohol or drugs does not cause it. It might try to look for the word. It might pronounce it. It might pronounce or encourage what has already been there. And which is why, if you look at a trend of abusers, they are actually sometimes drug users or alcohol users. They are always, there's a factor. That's alcohol or drugs is always a factor because it pronounces it. You know, alcohol or drugs, they're chemicals that changes your regular functioning of your brain. So it tends to pronounce the anger that leads to it. It tends to pronounce the certain behaviors that actually leads to abuse, but it does not cause it. I wouldn't say it causes it, but it pronounces it. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. The next question, sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God. Is domestic violence more prevalent in some culture?
Right. Yeah, we already talked about that. But before I answer that, let me say, domestic violence is not limited to a particular culture.
Like you kind of compare both the African and the Western world. What do you think?
Yeah. I would not want to compare. You know why? Because if we go now and look at statistics in the Western world, you'll find out that wow, there definitely is a high number of domestic violence statistics of domestic violence also. Now, what makes the difference? Let me specify on what makes the difference. The fact that the Western world, they have more laws that are backing and supporting victims. They have more laws that are against domestic violence, right? Now, unfortunately, the African culture, some certain other cultures like the African cultures, we have not gotten to a point. We're gradually getting there because of the increased awareness over the years. But unfortunately, we do not have laws that are actually backing domestic violence. Well, let me rephrase that. There are laws, but they're not being enforced. In 2016, when I was home in Nigeria, when I went on this domestic violence awareness tour, I actually went to the Supreme Court. It wasn't the Supreme Court, and I don't want to be one of the courts in Abuja. And that was I tried to go with I spoke with the registrar or someone, and because I wanted to get the legal thinking when it comes to domestic violence. He did agree to meet with me, and when I sat down and we're talking, and he was like, when I asked him about domestic violence, he was like, I wish I knew this is what you wanted to talk about. I would not have entertained this. And I laughed, and I'm like, oh wow. I said, well, thank you for entertaining. And he said, because what's happening is here, yes, there are laws, and he actually put it to me, and it showed me that there are laws that support victims that speak against domestic violence, but they're not being enforced because normally, first of all, culturally, we're not encouraged to even talk about what's going on in your marriage. Second of all, when it happens, the first point of call is family members, and family members will usually tell you, well, it's not a big deal. Your father did that to me too. Your uncle did that to your auntie, and most people just end it there. And for a situation that ends up in like a police station, they don't even try the case because they usually tell them, go home and settle it as a domestic issue. It's a domestic affair. When this happens, that kind of discourages people from reaching out. And even though right now things are getting better, so because we cannot disregard the work that has been done over the years when it comes to domestic violence, more cases are being tried. We can do better. We obviously can do better. And because of this laws not being enforced, there's a tendency for people to do more, participate more, or feel like they can get away with it in certain cultures.
Wow. So what do you think about those women that's I mean, in the situation of this, I mean, of believing that their culture accept this? What do you think that they have to do? Do they have to say that? Because I know many who's going to watch the video and they're going to, I mean, they would like to know what to do, what's next thing, what's your advice to them? Do you think they still have to adapt to that situation or to the culture of where they're living?
The very first thing I'm going to say is it's absolutely abnormal. There's nothing normal. There's nothing normal about being abused in your marriage. And this goes for men and women. Over the years, you must have heard it's okay, it's normal, it's acceptable. And then let me talk about religion. When religion pushes this thing about God hates divorce, and then people are thinking, okay, yeah, whatever it is I'm dealing with, or this particular famous term about marriage is about endurance in marriage. That particular term drives me crazy. And I'm not saying there's no endurance in marriage, because of course, with every relationship, there are a few things you got to endure. But endurance, physical abuse, domestic violence is not something you should endure. If you endure it and keep dealing with it and keep getting yourself beaten up, there might be a day that you will not make it out alive. It's just the reality of it. I'm not saying your partner is out to kill you, because it's never their intention to kill you physically. But anything can happen. We've had several situations where there's a particular case I heard about where the husband, he's been tried recently. He pushed his wife down the stairs. He did not intend to kill her, but out of the anger, when he pushed her, she hit her head and she died. It was not to him, he did not intend to kill her, but out of his anger, whatever the abuse, she died. There's another case. God bless Pastor Shola Jordan Adeoye. He's one of my mentors also. He told me about a case that happened also. He had a lady who was also always coming to him for counseling. Now, she reached out to him because she noticed how his voice against social media. This other pastor in Nigeria was also involved in their case, and was always telling her, just endure, when it happens, we'll call them together, try to tell them not to do it again, tell the woman it's okay, stay. Pastor Shola will tell her, you know what, leave. And the reason we talk about leaving when it comes to domestic violence is sometimes for you to address it, you got to remove that victim from the situation for you to be able to fully address it. It's not safe to say you're leaving the victim in the situation while you're addressing, and that's what Pastor Shola encouraged. You know what? You might need to take a break first, because this constant beating is going to eventually kill you. Guess what? Pastor Shola spoke to her on Friday. On Monday, he got a text message from her phone, from her sister texting and saying, Pastor Shola, my sister is dead. She died over the weekend.
Oh my God.
Yes. Her husband, after they got settled, her husband beat her up over the weekend, hit her with a mortar, the pistol, and that was it.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Who officiated that burial? The same pastor that was telling her to stay. Who is gone now? She's the one who's gone. So this is why we encourage, and this is not only, like I'm saying again, and I'm stressing again, it's not only females that are victims. If you're also a man who's constantly abused physically, mentally by your spouse, a woman also, you might need to speak up and run for your life first, and then make sure that your abuser gets help, and make sure that is fixed before you go back in that situation. Because like I said, you might not make it. And I will refer again to this 29-year-old sister that just died, promising, she was a life coach on Facebook. If somebody had told her, yes,
oh my God,
yes, because he called her and he told her to bring the children over, and she went to spend the weekend with him, not knowing that he already had plans to kill her. She went with her sister, and while her sister was in the room with the kids, he called her into the room that he wanted to talk with her, turned up the music, and tortured her to death. He tortured her to death. So it's never advisable to stay in a physically in a domestic violence situation. I totally do not encourage that.
It just came to my mind. And what do you think? Why some of these victims still go back to to their abusers? What do you think? What's really wrong in their mind that keep pushing them back to their abusers? Is it because of what they are invented in the marriage, or what do you think?
There are different reasons why victims go back to the abusers. Different reasons, different factors. One being that, especially in a particular culture, and which is African culture, very prominent with African culture, where marriage is the be all, ending all of us as a woman. I'm sorry to say, no matter the extent of education you have, no matter how much career advancement you've had, if you're not married, you're not respected, right? So, with that same passion, with that same commitment to keep that marriage, with the fear of being judged and ridiculed by the community, by friends, by the society, by church, by religion, because believe it or not, the church folks, the church families, we're actually one of the most judgmental ever, because you can see how people treat and look down on single mothers. You can see how people look down on women or men who are divorced. So because of that fear, of that fear of being ridiculed, of that being judged, so many people keep going back. They want to protect their marriage. They want to keep their marriages at all costs, so they go back. And there's one, if I don't talk about it, one of my other mentors, Dr. Ikade, she's an inspiration to me. There's something we call trauma bonding. Trauma bonding it's something we have to all talk about. It's a disorder. It's when somehow the abuser, the abused is tied to the abuser. They don't because the abuser has kept them away from everybody else for a long time. They are very dependent emotionally on their abuser. They don't see anybody else. They've lost contact with family. They've lost contact with friends. So the only person they see and look up to is their abuser, and they've done that for years. So when you are now telling them to leave that situation, they cannot function outside of that. So they are traumatized to that person, and they keep going back to that person because of that bonding, because of that bond that has been developed through trauma. And that's why we get victims going back to their abusers till they don't make it back out alive. Sadly, yeah.
It's really hurt. It's painful. It's really painful. Oh my God. Do you think is there any resources out there to help people enough on domestic violence?
Okay. Just like I said earlier, over the years, there's been an increasing awareness, an increasing work when it comes to domestic violence. And so now we can say that we have a little bit more help and support when it comes to domestic violence. Now, there's really not an excuse for you not to reach out as a victim, because no matter where you are, there is help. It might not be enough. You might not be able to maybe survive on them financially, but there's help to actually move you out of that situation and help you. We have organizations. We even have individuals like myself, like you, Sister Deborah, because I know you're very passionate about domestic violence, who are actually helping victims out of their own accord. We have a lot of people. We have Sister Tobore, we have Defunke, we have many women. We have Sister Olubumi, God bless her soul, who have risen up to say, you know what, we're going to help. They've built shelters, that are helping and are eager to help. So honestly, there are resources. It might not be enough. We might need more, but there are resources, and a lack of resource should not be a reason why a victim should not speak out.
What do you think about those women there? I mean, those victims there in Africa, do they have enough resources? Do the government also being part of it enough? But some people
Yes,
may be afraid of going to the maybe to individual. Or, yeah.
yes. As I just reiterated in the previous question, yes, there are resources, but we can do more. The government can do
Yeah.
more. Victims can get a little bit more support. Right
Mm.
now, from even what I gathered, I hear that even when you go to police stations to try to report it, there are some police stations that even try to take advantage of the victims. So I think in certain cultures or countries, especially the
Oh my
African
God.
countries, we need more support for the victims. We need to change the mindset generally, and that should even start from individuals. That should be start from religious organizations. We need to change this whole mindset when it comes
Mm.
to abuse and domestic violence. I totally
Mm.
detest it when I hear religious organizations, when you talk about, oh, we need to remove the victim, they might need to be separated.
Mm-hmm.
Divorce might happen because of domestic violence, and then our religious leaders and support are telling you God hates divorce. God hates divorce quite all right, but God would never hate divorce that has to do with domestic violence. And that's why I started this by saying domestic violence is not the mind of God for marriage. Domestic violence is not the norm for marriage. It's not God's intention for anybody to be in a marriage where
No
they are
way.
valued and abused and
Mm-hmm.
killed. And like I always say to victims, I'm sorry, if you get killed in a domestic violence situation when you were offered help over and over, you're going to be blamed by God himself, because God has even given us wisdom to be able to look at and think for ourselves, is this normal for me? So it's never the mind of God, and we need to change the mindset of,
Mm.
as a people, as a religious organization, when it comes to domestic violence and marriage.
Absolutely.
We need to change the mindset. And I don't know if pastors or ministers are listening to me right now. This is even something we
Mm.
need to be passionate about and bring up and talk about in
Yes.
our churches. This is as important as financial prosperity that everybody talks
I
about
even
right
have
now.
a question.
I'm sure you will have men of God, and I'm not here to offend anybody or step
Mm.
on any toes,
Wow.
but
It's
it's
true.
just something.
Do you think that there's some religion belief?
Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
We have to talk about it. We really need to talk about it because yeah, it's very important.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Do you think that does some religious beliefs cause domestic violence?
Absolutely.
Do they believe of like the way you just said before? Some pastor would say no endure. Do you think that they believe in it
Absolutely. They don't. I wouldn't say they
and they're
believe.
kind of in a supportive of that situation of let me just name domestic violence?
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say they believe in it. But unfortunately, some pastors, some ministers themselves are conditioned to think that this is normal. Let's not forget that we talked in the beginning and said many of them probably even saw their fathers beat up their mom. So it's not normal. It's not abnormal to them. Before they now accepted the ministry and went into ministry, and to now coupled with that, to now add to that, there's this thing that the Bible says Bible hates divorce. So people, don't they feel like if you talk about it, you're encouraging people to get divorced, and that means you are against the institution of marriage. When I first started talking about this, I got some invitation to go speak in some churches, and there was a particular church that I spoke. And when I was done, after everything, after encouraging people, and I'm seeing that I'm actually connecting with some people there. At the end of it all, the woman of God came and she was like, "Thank you so much, but let's not forget that God hates divorce." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I mean, after everything we talked about, you're still going to come out and say God
Really?
hates divorce. Yes. So
Wow.
I will say boldly that yes, some religious beliefs actually encourages domestic violence, but we need to change the mindset. We need to look out for our people. Let's not. I love and respect the institution of marriage, quite all right, but let's start to promote more of healthy marriages than asking us to endure things that are killing people. You see, and this is one I'm going to end with this. You see, the church should be looked as a foundation for the family. And this is where, family who are living in peace and love should gather. And, we should all come for encouragement. But now what I'm seeing is there are a lot of churches or religious places where so many troubled marriages, so many couples who are troubled, but come there and put up a front that everything is going okay because we want the church to think. There are even certain churches where even the pastor and his wife are not happy. They are troubled. They have a very unhealthy marriage. There are some churches where the pastor is the victim of abuse. There are some churches where the pastor is the abuser. So we need to just stop faking all of these things and address this head on. Preach on domestic violence. Yes, preach on domestic violence like you preach on financial prosperity, like you preach on being saved, on heaven, on second coming of Christ. Domestic violence should be a topic that we preach about in the church.
Very true, sister. I believe in that. I believe that so much because a lot of people that's going through it, even when we are not talking about it in the church, your members are not healthy. Yeah. They are in a mental issue that there's some things it does not need prayer.
Yes, ma'am.
We need just to take action on it.
Take action.
But many people don't get it. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really like that place. I really like those points that you just point out. Thank you so much, sister.
You're welcome, ma'am.
I know you're an amazing woman, a coach on the relationship and marriage. What is good marriage? What do you, in your own perspective, what is good marriage? What is healthy marriage?
From my own perspective, what is good marriage? Thank you for let's use the word healthy. And the reason being that the word good might be relative. It's relative to you. What is good to you? What is a good marriage to you might be different. What is a good marriage to me? I might be the kind of wife that, as long as my husband is, takes care of financial, everything in the home, I'm good. Okay. You might be, let's switch it around. I might be as long as the sex is great, my marriage is good.
Yeah, I got you.
That might be me. So that.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about healthy marriage. I think for me, healthy marriage is there's no marriage without challenges, and this is where I encourage endurance. You might get married and your husband was financially okay when you got married and things went down the drain. Of course, I want to encourage you to stay on and support your husband. You're there to support one another. That's endurance. What other things? Your husband, your wife might not be perfect. Yes, when we are dating, we see only the great things that come along with them because there's so many butterflies in our stomach, right? So we tend to just block out those negative things that we're supposed to be seeing. Unfortunately, those things become escalated and become even more visible when we get married after a long time where children have started coming into place. Now financial responsibilities have become even more. We start to take each other for granted. Those negative things that we ignored in the beginning now becomes more pronounced. And this is when people now start to feel irritated. They get tired of one another. They cannot stand them. And I'm like, okay, but these things were there in the beginning. You just kind of just ignored it. Because at that point, your desire to get married, your desire to settle down, your desire to satisfy societal demands caused you. And you're feeling like, okay, many of us unfortunately go into marriage thinking marriage will change that person. Maybe when we get married, things will change. Marriage does not change anybody. Marriage even makes things worse sometimes because again, other factors come into play, like I've mentioned, and those signs become more visible and people get tired, people get bored. Now, what is a healthy marriage? A healthy marriage is one where endurance is not more than what you're enjoying in the marriage. Okay. And this, which is actually self-inflicted most of the time. Healthy marriage is where both of you can come together and grow together positively in a healthy way. Understanding that, okay, we are two imperfect people that came together and we're going to hold each other's hands and continue to grow. A healthy marriage is one that is not riddled with domestic violence, well, that is not riddled with domestic emotional abuse, where one person feels like, oh, I'm the only one in this marriage sustaining this marriage, which leads me to talk about certain cultures that puts the burden of sustaining a marriage just on the woman. We need to also start to encourage the younger generation that marriage is a two-way thing. It involves both of you coming together. You both stood before God and family to make vows to one another. So why, when you get married, why do we leave the burden of that preservation of that marriage on the woman? Why do we encourage and say, woman, the home is yours, go into the war room and pray and pray and pray? I do not like that idea of war room. I'm not saying a woman should not be prayerful. That's not what I'm saying. But there's nothing stopping a man also from being prayerful. There's nothing stopping a man as the head of the home based on what religion has pushed or what society has pushed. I personally believe marriage has a structure, and yes, there's nothing wrong with the man being the head of the home. But what people fail to realize is being the head of the home is not just a title, oh, that'll make you feel like, oh, I'm the head of this home, I can treat you any way I want. No, being the head of your home means that you are a lot of responsibility falls on you to make sure that that home survives. But what we are doing is culture, religion is pushing that responsibility on the woman. So you're saying that no matter what she's going through, no matter what her husband is putting her through, no matter what the in-laws are putting her through, she should stay, deal with the pain, and continue to pray. Have people been in a situation where you are in so much pain that you cannot pray? Do people realize that? I'm sure people can actually relate with me. There are times, Sister Deborah, I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure you've been in that position where you're in so much pain that praying is not even the thing on your mind.
Yeah.
And those times when I get to that point, I just let it all go and I just
the action that's really matter at that
time. Exactly. So why are we now saying a woman should endure? Now what I'm to wrap up the question is, what is a healthy marriage? Where both of you are growing healthy, where both of you are involved in making sure that your home functions and is effective, where there's value, where there's peace. Peace. We underestimate peace in marriage. If you're not at peace, your marriage can never be healthy. If you rob your partner of peace of mind, you are doing this disservice to the institution of marriage. Because and please permit me to talk about this, and this is something I'm very passionate about. A lot of us, by our actions, we're robbing our partners of their peace of mind. And there's no way that you can rob your partner of peace of mind and you have a healthy partner. You don't. It's selfish to use your behavior. Are you a constant cheater in the home? Do you cheat constantly and you expect, okay, because it's normal for a man to cheat? Are you thinking of the effect on your wife? Yes, a woman would accept it. Because again, the burden is on her to keep it. But do you understand what the effect of it is on her peace of mind? Do you know what your constant emotional, physical abuse is doing to her peace of mind? Do you know what you are doing to your husband? You constantly verbally abusing him, constantly talking down at him, constantly bruising his ego. Do you know what that is doing to his peace of mind? Do you know what your in-laws, the effect of how your in-laws are treating your spouse? Do you know what it's doing to their peace of mind? Let's be more mindful of this.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. This is so amazing, really. Myself also. That's the time I think I share it with you. Being accepted. There's some things that you don't need to accept in your marriage. I accepted that my in-law, close to them, and they don't really understand what are the effects of their behavior in my marriage, personally to myself. So I like the point that you just touched, and it's really amazing. Thank you so much, sister. God bless you for this.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Oh my God. The next question, what is the meaning of marriage itself? What is the meaning of marriage? Why do we have to marry? Is it important? Is it obligation?
Sister Deborah, you're setting me up with this question. Okay. As much as a feminist, as much as we have a lot of this feministic ideology out there, a lot of these life coaches like Sister Shemo Bajolu, who come out and say, you can do well by yourself as a single woman. The marriage institution is still very much necessary and important. You should not feel that you're inadequate if you're not in a marriage. That's what I preach personally. Don't look at yourself as less than Sister Sean or Sister Deborah because you're not married or you were not married or you've never been opportune to get married. That's what I preach. Don't let society or culture make you feel like, no matter what you've achieved in life, because you're not married, you're nothing. Please, don't look at yourself like that. We had a dear sister, and me, I always have these stories and experiences to back things up. A dear sister 2 years ago, a Nigerian, committed suicide. She had a PhD holder, she was a PhD holder, but because she did not feel fulfilled. She felt like everybody else were disregarding her. Everybody else were saying, oh, your sisters are getting married. What's happening to you? Or she went to school, she went and furthered her education, trying to get validation from family, saying, okay, you know what, even though I'm not married, I'm still doing this. I'm still becoming it. She was never recognized. She was never appreciated. She wrote a suicide note and she committed suicide. That's what I preach about. Again, you're not less than me because you're not married.
Oh my God.
Your marriage is just not here. Now, having clarified that, I would say marriage is a beautiful thing. Marriage is
absolutely.
One head is great. Imagine you have two heads who walk and are aligned and work together. The sky is the limit. Great. Sister Cheryl, you want to pursue your career. You want to do this and do that. Imagine Sister Cheryl has somebody who's working together with her partner and they support each other. I support his dreams, you support mine. The sky is the limit. So yes, marriage is very much important. And it's very, very necessary that it's a healthy one.
Wow.
So no matter what we do, let's work together to make sure that our marriage is as healthy as we can have it.
Do you think it's obligation to marriage? To marry?
Is it an obligation?
Do you think it's obligation?
Not
some people believe that it's obligation. I don't believe it's obligation. I just want to know your perspective, your own.
It's not and that's what you're setting me up. It's not an obligation to get married. It's not everybody's desire to get married. Not everybody will get married, whether we like it or not, as much as we want to encourage it.
I don't want some women to think, especially the women.
Yeah, but Sister Deborah, you know why we have to be careful with this, okay? Somebody might come out and say, oh, but Sister Deborah, you're in your own husband's house now, and you're telling me that it's not an obligation to get married. We got to be very careful. Somebody might say, but Stashion, you were married. Now. I was married.
It's true.
But you did it for 18 years, Stashion. Why are you not telling me it's not an obligation? So that's why I'm being very careful. Not
I just want people to put in the mind that it's not because of many people are going in a situation whereby family or friends are pushing them in a way that you just have to get married. Yes. I would prefer that you should, do something that make you happy.
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe you get what I'm saying. Do something that make you happy. not somebody to push you into a marriage that you start regretting later on, that you want to push, you want to come out, you want to. I've been in a situation whereby I feel like, okay, I feel like being a single mother or being a single person, no marriage. I want to come out, I want to stay in. You know, you want marriage, you want. So that's kind of, I don't want
Right.
people to feel like, yeah, you want marriage, you don't know, I want to stay by myself. So I'm
Right.
saying it, I always say it every time, that many times I want to come out, many times I still want to go back.
Right. And I get your point, Sister Deborah. And I totally understand where you're coming from. And I also share the same perspective when it comes to that. That you're single, that you're getting older. I'll prefer that you live your life the best way you can. Do whatever you want to do as a single person. Have your own business, build your own career, build your house. Gone are the days when you say, no, when a woman is rich or financially successful, she will not get a husband. I beg. Gone are the days, man. You will find somebody, seriously, you will find somebody that will work with you. Sometimes, let me surprise you, honey. You might be the one that will rub your success off on your man. It's just what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just quickly stress this point. There's nothing wrong with you being more successful than your husband. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as there's that understanding between both of you, as long as you have a strong man who knows that, okay, my ego is not to be bruised because my wife is more successful. As long as you are applying the wisdom of God to make sure that you're not rubbing your success on your husband and making him feel less of a man. As long as you're using your success to support him and build him up with you, because again, in marriage, yes, you have your own glory that you're shining with, but you can actually help and support your man to rise. That's one of the beauties of a healthy marriage, without anybody even knowing who is doing what in the home. Okay, so now just to kind of clarify, it's not an obligation. If you do not want to get married, it's not. Don't let anybody force you to it. I prefer that you take your time and wait to find somebody that expectations match with yours. Because again, you know, we have too many expectations. Some single women have too many expectations and are looking for a perfect man. There's no perfect man anywhere, and there's no perfect woman anywhere. You will stay single for life if you're looking for a perfect person. But then I don't want you to rush. I don't want you to rush into a marriage because you're being pressured to get married. A broken engagement, they say, is better than a broken marriage. There are many of us now who, unfortunately, went through separation, divorce, or whatever, and there are some things that we should have addressed early on that were not addressed. So please, do not feel less of yourself. Do not feel inadequate. Do not feel like your life is not valuable because you're not married. No, that's not what we want you to do. Continue to live your best life. Continue to work on yourself and make yourself the best version of yourself. And then when you now meet the person who you'll be with, you're already a best version of yourself to that person.
I like that.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. Thank you so much, sister.
You're most welcome.
The next question is, how much do you trust a man? How much do you think, like, to trust a man? How much can a woman trust a man enough?
Sister Deborah, why are you asking me these questions now? All right.
You see me, I'm looking down. I'm waiting for you, so I was like,
Father Lord, speak through me. Okay. Trust is
somebody say, who is speaking through this sister? This sister. Then you are absolutely on point. Loud to the younger generation. You are a woman. I'm a human prophet. Thank you so much, Adeshola A. Ade.
Thank you so much.
Yes, she is.
My brother. I don't like it. I don't want to be a prophet though. Even though my mother would not want to hear that. But you know, we are all prophets of our own in our own way. Thank you so much though, with all humility. Thank you. So
You know,
let me
let me quickly say this to you, Sister Jo. Let me say
I
something
don't
to
want
you.
to. I'll
Some
be
people
that
believe that being let me say no, no, I'm not talking about church aspect. I'm not talking about church aspect. Sometimes people have a vision or they have a calling. When you say I have a calling, God say I have a calling. Some people believe that they just have to open a church.
Preach it. Okay. Okay.
Having a
I'm
calling
feeling
does
that.
not mean that you have to open a church. That's where we made a mistake. That's where we see an abusive pastor. That's why we see a pastor kind of made a mistake because it was not called in the position of having a church or
Right.
leading shepherds in the church. Because being a leader in the church contains a lot of things. Some
Hmm.
people are not even in that level. That's why you see different things are happening in the church. That's why you see even abuse, sexual abuse in the church because they
Preach
are
it.
not called for that.
Preach it.
So what
Preach it.
you're doing, as the person say you're a prophet or human, that means a lot, which does not mean that you have to just take the Bible that you are preaching. So a
Hmm.
lot of people's lives are changing through what you're saying every day, every week, through what you are educating them. Some things does not mean that they just have to lay down and pray. Some things need that they have to just make action
Yes.
to make you just like I can't say God I want to be a doctor just in my house. I need to go forward, go to school. God give me knowledge. I have to read. I can't
Yes.
expect that God to bring the certificates right now in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, what kind of God are you worshiping there? It's
Hmm.
not 419 God. Which
Yes, ma'am.
school?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that
And
doesn't make sense. So when
okay.
somebody call you a prophet of women, it means a lot because we need people that will help people with mentally perspective. I mean, area of life as well, and which
Thank
they don't do that in the church.
thank you. Thank you, Sister Deborah. And I'm encouraged. You know you're my prophet now. You're my prophetess.
You have what to
You
say.
are my prophetess. Yeah, thank you so much. So I'll let God do what God wants to do. And yes, you're right. You're right. Some of us have a message for the world, and we are all prophets in our own rights. Honestly, you're right. You're right. Thank you. So let's talk about trust. Let's talk about trust. As a woman, how much should you trust a man? All right, everybody, I want you to pay attention. Okay.
Yeah.
No man, no human. Okay. No human. You should not, as a human, you should not put 100% trust on any human. I'm just saying. And the reason I'm saying that is they're human just like you. And humans are bound to fall. Humans are bound to be human.
Mm.
Humans are bound to falter. Humans are bound
Oh my God.
to fail. Okay? They're human.
Very true.
The only person we can put absolute 100% trust on is the Almighty God.
Mm.
So, in marriage, when it comes to marriage, please, and the reason I want you to listen to me and just ask God
Amen.
to also minister to you is there are some marriages where either person has placed 100% trust on their partner, and when the partner failed them, they also failed woefully and lost themselves in. I'll share two scenarios with you, and I'm sure you probably have heard it before. One is somebody I know very well. I used to know. I don't know her anymore because she's gone. I will not mention her name to protect her. She was a successful entrepreneur. She was doing very well. One of these beauty lines, she had their cars, was doing very well. In fact, when I came to this country, she was one of those people that actually gave me some support. Down the line, she
Wow.
ran into some financial issues. She started to, drink, got into alcohol and all of that. we were still all our friends were trying to get her back on track. Trying to, what, this is not the end of the world. You can still come back again. You can still rise up again. That was fine. That did not kill her. Then one day she called one of our other friends, and she called and she was hysterical. She was crying. She was very unconsolable. Our friend could not console her. What happened? I don't want to mention her name to protect her. What is wrong with you? Why are you crying like this? What happened? Did somebody die? She said, oh no, I just found out my husband, he has actually married a wife in Nigeria. He married a wife in the village. Our friend tried to calm her down and, just relax. It's okay. What's the way forward? They had 4 children. What's the way forward? Let's just relax. It's not that serious. Anyway, 2 days later, or the next day, we got a call that our friend died of a heart attack. She told her children she was going upstairs to sleep, take a nap, and that was
Oh my God.
Her kids, after like 5 hours, were like, okay, why is mom still sleeping? What's going on? They went upstairs to check on her. She was gone. When paramedics were called, it was too late. That's one example. She put her trust in this man so much that, oh my God, and when this man acted as human, she could not make it through. Another case I've shared to a registered nurse who found out that her husband was cheating, she was going on the computer and she saw the communication between her husband and this woman in Nigeria. Instantly, something switched in her head at that moment. As I speak to you, this woman is homeless and has a mental condition, roaming the streets of in Maryland right there. And there are people who know this story that can validate it. These 2 women, let's share the story of a man before they say, oh, we are picking on a man. I heard of a man recently whose wife left him because of financial issues. Till today, he's not normal. They said this man has not been able to work for the past 6 months because his wife left him. He's draining and going down the drain. All these examples are people who put their total trust, 100% trust on a human, be it their husband, be it their wife. Okay, so where am I going with this? It's okay. There is no marriage without trust, number one. Because why are you going into marriage without trusting who you're going to be married to? Let's establish that. But please, give room for error. Give room for human error. Give room to protect yourself. There's no way you should allow somebody's actions to cause you to go down the drain, to end your life. Don't let their own actions end your life. So yes, trust, but apply sense. This is what I say. Apply sense. Be very sensible. We all have sense. So give that room for human error. Give that room that, oh, this person can fail me. Oh, this person can do things that because they're human. So always have it at the back of your mind and be smart. Be smart. Marriage is not for babies anyway. Marriage is not for babies. So you got to hope, and I always say this, pray and hope for the best, but plan for the worst.
Absolutely. Wow, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much. What do you consider being disrespectful in marriage? I know you say, oh my God, why she's blowing me with these questions.
The reason I'm going to laugh
I know
about
you.
The reason I'm going to laugh about this is African men, or men in general, but mostly African men, disrespecting, hey, Jesus, you would think that it's all they care about. Any little thing, why are you disrespecting me? Am I not your husband? But wait now, there is a degree of disrespect to be expected in any marriage. As long as you guys have started seeing each other's nakedness, there is a degree of disrespect to be expected. Now, this is where both of you, everybody involved, has to understand that there's a limit to the disrespect that somebody can take. Okay? So, Don't stand here and say, oh, but Sister Sean said disrespect is not allowed in marriage. That's not what I'm here. I'm here to say there is a certain degree of disrespect to be expected in marriage. I don't care how much older you are than her. Yeah. She will disrespect you as your wife. She has seen your naked.
Absolutely.
What else is there? Okay, let's go ask the president of the country. If you go and sit President Obama down, who is the most man in America as the president, and ask him, he will tell you, man, if you see what Michelle shows me at home. I'm sure Michelle will tell you, my friend Obama, be quiet, be quiet. She can tell the whole president of the country to be quiet. She's the one that has the Now, with that being said, let's be mindful of the level of disrespect that is acceptable. What you cannot accept, don't feed it to your partner. What you cannot take, do not give it to your partner. Oh, and this is where I get really, really mad. You cannot stand your wife cheating on you. Why did you cheat on her over and over and over again? And expect her to expect it. That's very, very disrespectful to her. You cannot stand when she just says one little something to you and you get mad, right? You can't stand it, but you are always dishing it to her. You're always calling her a fool. You are a useless woman in front of the children, in front of the people. Anybody, you are so quick to disrespect your partner, your spouse, woman. You're so quick to disrespect your husband in front of people. What you cannot dish or accept, don't dish out. You cannot accept anybody disrespecting your family members. Do not disrespect her family members. Those are little things that we ignore in marriage that we should talk about. So basically, let's leave it at this so that I don't beat this anymore. What you cannot accept in the name of disrespect, don't give it to your partner. Period. That would help us a lot.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Should you give your spouse access to all your social media accounts and phone?
Maybe I should allow our guest to answer this, Sister Deborah. Okay. Let's look for the easy way to answer this. I don't know if this is time for me to share this, and maybe this is time. If somebody was to ask me today, what is one thing that you would do differently if you had to do this marriage thing all over again? I would say that I would want there to be a little bit more transparency on both sides. At a point in my marriage, and I'll use my marriage, we shared everything. Everybody had access. There was nobody hiding anything. And then, down the line, if we talk about it today, he would say, no, you are the first person that changed your password. And that's why. And even though I can't really remember, but I can swear that I changed my password for a reason. I was fighting for something. I was fighting for a little bit of respect when I did that. Because some things happened that I'm like, why is he disrespecting me like that? And I'm like, okay, you know what? Two can play the game. And I think I went ahead and changed my password. So maybe one day he went and tried to go into my password and he could not see it. And instantly he got really mad and he was like, oh, okay, that means you must be cheating on me because you changed your password. Oh, it's okay, Mama. It's okay. Mommy, I feel it. I'm sorry, that's my mom. And today he will say, yeah, automatically assume that, okay, because you changed your password means that you're cheating. And I swear with everything on me, I was not even cheating. I was just trying to prove a point. Like, okay, let's play. You can do that and I can do this. But if I could do it again, I would say, hold on. Let me disarm my security. Sorry, my alarm is going to go off.
Okay.
Sorry. Grandma. All right, sorry. So I would say there's absolutely nothing wrong with both of you having access to all of your social media accounts. There's nothing with all your passwords. There's nothing wrong with that. is actually the most healthiest thing you can have, because that way you know that there's nobody, you're not constantly thinking, oh, my husband is doing something, my wife is doing something.
Yeah.
I know somebody will say, oh, but there's some degree of individuality that should be maintained. Absolutely. The fact that both of you have access to your each other's stuff does not mean that you're constantly in each other's phones trying to find something. That's not the reason why you have it, because that's where people miss it. Oh, I don't have their password, whatever. Oh, yeah, you can have it. But it does not mean that you have to be encroaching on their privacy. Somebody will tell me, oh, but does a married person have a privacy? They have a right to their privacy. Because you guys are married does not mean that they're not an individual. You are two individuals who came together. So please give them a little bit of privacy. Don't be all up in their phones trying to find something, or what are you doing? Who are you talking to? That's a little too much. But to answer your question, I do not see. If I'm to do it again, that's what I would do. I want to have access to your door. You can have access to mine. There's no secret zone. What are we hiding? When we've come to a point where we are actually hiding, like I use myself as an example. When I did that, I don't think our marriage ever recovered from that. From when I was fighting for something and I changed my password and he could not accept it, like, okay, you must be cheating, which was an assumption because I was not. I don't think we fully recovered. And then he wanted to fight back, and then he changed passwords. So we never recovered from that fully. If we were to sit down counseling now, that's one thing I know you could to say, yeah, you were the one to change the password now. He has not forgotten about it today, almost 8 years later. So please, if you're on here, there's no need. If you're hiding passwords from each other, then you need to check that out again and talk about it, because there's no need. Let me, Sister Deborah, before I go on, Sister Deborah, you see, we don't understand sometimes the importance or severity of this. There might even be an emergency. This person you don't even know. Who knows when anybody's going to drop dead? And then your spouse will not have access to your phone, to important things that they need to have access to. They don't know your password. They don't know password to your financial information. So when you drop dead or something happens, what happens? And in this day and age, if you don't have access to it, then they'll tell you that's it. So we need to really be applying wisdom and knowledge. And I see one of my sisters is talking about that too. When we change passwords, it's one of two things. Women hardly change their passwords. Well, let me go. I don't want to be biased. Okay, when women change passwords, we're fighting for something. Either you change yours, and we are trying to change ours to prove a point. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Thank you so much, sister. I love that. Thank you so much. My next question again. Can a man perform all home duties like cooking, cleaning, bathing the kids, etc., or who is responsible for this in the home?
This is another tricky question that I've always I find it very tricky. And for me, I say, okay, I think a lot of us go into marriage with too much definition of roles. Which the reason I say confusing is some people also say when you go into marriage with a clear definition of what your roles are in the marriage, things that go easier. But we're now in a world where certain things that we expect are the expectations of a man are now done by women. Certain things that we expect are the expectation or definite expectation of the role of a woman are not done by men. So this is a very tricky one. I will say, just do what works for your home to make sure that your home is running effectively and fairly. I like the use of the word fairly, because what happens is there's some homes where you find a man who will say, me, I was not raised to cook. I was not raised to clean. I don't know how to do this. It's not my role to do this. I'm not expected to do that. And you see your wife drowning, trying to keep up with keeping the house clean, making sure the kids are fed, making sure you are fed, making sure your house is presentable, making sure she's presentable. And then she'll still expected to give you all the styles in bed, sex styles in bed. And you just sit there and you say you don't know how to cook because you are providing financially for the home. That is unfair. As a woman, do you see your husband financially drowning trying to keep up with paying the children's school fees, trying to keep up with paying the rent or the mortgage, trying to keep up with paying the car notes, and keep up with the financial obligations to both families, and you have some source of income, and you are saying, well, it's not in my place, it's the man's role to provide financially for the home, and you sit back and you don't support your husband, you have been very unfair. So do what works for your home, but do it justly and fairly. Keeping the welfare, the sanity of your partner a priority. If your partner drowning, that's why you are helpmates. That's why you are in a healthy marriage, to make sure, let's do whatever. This is our empire. This is our home, and we'll do whatever. You want your wife to give you the best sex styles in bed. The only time some men help is when they want to fuck. Excuse me, sorry, this is a Christian show. I'm sorry. It's when they want to have sex. I'm sorry. It's when they want to make love to their wives. That's when you see some men, they'll start saying, do you want me to help you put the children to bed? Do you, Sister Deborah? I'm sorry, I think I just said the wrong word, but to the pastors, please forgive me. That's when you see some men start helping their wives to put the children to bed. You know, so
please let them. People need to know.
Let's just be mindful.
I just laugh.
Oh my God.
I have some question for you about that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm all ears.
Thank you so much. How much time should a wife or husband spend with their single friends?
I'm not one of those that say
I'm married.
I'm not one of those that says it's not healthy to keep your single friends. Where are you going to put your single friends after you get married now?
That's why I just want us to talk. I mean, I want you to talk about it, because some people feel like you are married, that you don't have to be.
Yeah.
With a single friend.
I totally agree. And basically what I'm trying to say is, we're not here to push that it's not healthy or it's not okay to have single friends. Why are you going to put your single friends? Or is it because you're now married, then you feel like you're more than your single friends? No. Some people are not wise enough when it comes to that. Now, there are some things that you might not be able to indulge in with your single friends as much as you used to, because now you have a higher responsibilities. You have somebody else that you have to carry along. You have children you now have to care for. You have added responsibilities that make some things impossible for you to get involved in. You used to go clubbing when you were single. Now you're married. You might not be able to go clubbing as you used to with your friends. Maybe you guys used to go to a club when you were single, but you still want to hang out with your single friends. You guys can kind of switch it around. Maybe you can go to the lounge where you're not putting yourself in a situation of that can get you in unnecessary trouble, where you're not exposing yourself to certain things that might get you in trouble. Because again, there are some things that you cannot get involved in. So you need to, I'm not saying avoid your friends, but you might have to tailor where you go, or the kind of outing, or the amount of time that you spend with them, because it's what's expected.
Wow.
You cannot hang out with your single friends to the detriment
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Now this question, sex in marriage. What do you think about sex in marriage?
That's my favorite topic. My favorite topic.
It is very important. It's not to be kind of, that is one of the the union of marriage that we cannot take apart, even though some people don't like to touch that topic. But it's one of the things that's we need to talk about it.
Things are
Even though
changing.
the pastor standing in the front of that is back home, he or she, yeah. So what do you think about sex in marriage?
The pastor, let me start with this. A pastor that is getting good sex at home will be giving
Okay.
some good preaching at church.
Mm.
A pastor's wife that's getting good sex and good orgasms
Mm-hmm.
at home will be able to first lady that church the right way. She's going to be glowing.
Mm.
Let me just say that. And why do I start with that? No matter who you are, pastor, pastor's wife, imam, sex is very important in marriage. And I'm not only saying here sex that's one-sided, because what we see also is there are a lot of marriages where sex is
Mm.
one-sided. Sex is believed that it should be only enjoyed by the man. The woman is not expected to enjoy sex the way she should. She's looked down on when she thinks or tries to ask or demand that, oh, I need to have my own orgasms. I need to enjoy sex. Some women are even so ashamed to ask their husbands that, hey, honey, I want to have sex. Because again, culture, religion, society has kind of put a label on a woman that asks or demands that, hey, honey, I'm horny, I want sex. Sex is beautiful, sex is holy, sex is approved by God in the institution of marriage, and it should be done right. Because I know understand a lot of people understand that sex is holy, is acceptable. But the thing is, how many people are doing it right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people are starving their husbands or their wives? I counsel some people.
Mm.
I read you on your own. No, my sister said her mood swings are not helpful. We're gonna talk about that, sis. Um, we shouldn't always prepare for sex. You don't always have to prepare for sex. Sex can be spontaneous. Sex in marriage can be, I mean, I know with children
Mm.
it's kind of hard, but hey, you can make whatever you want to make work. I used to use this as an example. Back then, when we all have our kids, me and the hubby, we had a sign. They'll tell me, babe, let's go print something downstairs. We know what we're going to print. We know it's definitely not documents we're going to print downstairs. And we tell the kids, hey, we're going downstairs to print. You guys should stay. We'll be right back. Go quickly, do what you got to do, take care of business, and we come back smiling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just understanding the importance and
Mm-hmm.
making time for it. Many times in some homes, the things that we make time for sometimes are not as important. Some homes, the only thing you guys make time for is fellowship, prayer, fellowship, church service. While you are attending to the souls and the lives of other people, your home, your own first ministry is dying. Sex is a ministry in your home that you should uphold and find time for.
Absolutely.
Sex is one thing that keeps both of you going. Sex is something that both of you should be able to talk about. I should be able to text my husband. I don't care if you're the pastor of a church. That's me. I'm going to be one of those women. If you're a pastor, that's why I don't know if I'll marry a pastor or whatever. I can be with the pastor, but even if you're a pastor, as we're finishing church, I'm texting you, babe. You know what? I want to That's the kind of woman I am. And that's the kind of woman every woman should be with their husband. We should not be ashamed of talking about anything sex. You should be able to text your husband and your wife.
You're right. You're very right.
This is what I want to do to you. I can't wait to do this and this to you. I can't wait. That's why a lot of people have lost their marriages because of inability to keep the sex going. So sex is important.
Very true. Very true. Very, very true. Wow. Very true. Very true.
Yes,
Thank you so much. How much sex should be expected in the marriage? You said something about it before, but I just want to ask the question again.
So who is counting how many times? Let me respond to you, Cicely. Who is counting how many times? Now, don't get me wrong.
Some people don't say that. Somebody say that.
Yeah, I get that from a lot of African women. They will say it's sex food. What the heck? Sex is food. Sex is food to your soul. Sex is food to your skin. Sex is good to your glow. Sex is food. Okay? Sex is spiritual food. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I've been there and I know we've all been there. You know, when life happens, when we have children, there's so much we're doing. There's so much we're doing, you know, we get tired, we're combining career with raising children. We can get tired, okay? And yes, I enjoy sex, I have orgasms, I enjoy orgasms, but there's just sometimes I'm just too tired to do it. I've been there. There are times when I'm like, oh my God, I smell that time. I know the hubby used to put on some special cologne. And when I smell that particular cologne, I'm like, this guy, he wants something again. And I'm tired. Okay. So what I will do is I'll now say, okay, babe, let me go and get ready. I'll go into the bathroom. I'll stay there. I'll take my time to do my skin routine so that you will sleep off before I get into the bed. Why am I sharing this? Because there are some times when we get too tired to actually do it. Let's put that into consideration. So I'm not beating you down, but the thing is, you know, having that in mind also, you also have to know that sex is something important in your marriage that you should at least make sure that you are taking care of frequently. It's not something when you start going 2 weeks, when you start going a whole week without sex, you need to start telling yourself, let's fix that. Let's fix that. So when you start seeing a home with two, and sadly, Sister Deborah, do you know that I do some counseling now, and I'm like, okay, so how is this a healthy marriage when you are telling me that you and your husband have not had sex in 5 months, 6 months? That's not a marriage. That's not a marriage at all. I'm sorry.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we have a lot of that. You'd be surprised.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I could accept if somebody say 1 week.
Yeah.
I could accept like okay, 1 week.
1 week.
Months.
Even that 1 week, you have to start understanding that this is not normal, but maybe things are just rough for both of us this week. You know, that's fine. But when you start extending to 2 weeks to 3 weeks,
no, like in case there's something, maybe there's issue. I'm not saying that in case there's issue between them. So sometimes husband and wife just keep distance. They're okay, I'm not going to talk to him. You know, something like that. But 1 month,
you know
2 months, 3 months, 5 months. Oh my God, something's wrong somewhere. So it's like it may be one of them are getting it somewhere outside it.
Yeah. Let me say this, Sister Deborah. We should even be able to get to a point of maturity in our marriage where even if you guys are not talking with each other, my friend, please can I borrow your pennies for a minute? Let me quickly use it. I'll give it back to you. When I'm done, I return it. We should be able to get to that level of maturity. But you know, I pray God helps us all. God helps us all.
Just for a while. Oh my God.
I'm just joking with that. Oh my God.
It's one of the main things in marriage that many don't talk about it. Even there should be marriage counseling in the church. That it's needed to be issued in the church to talk about it in the church because we are still in this body, living in this body. Thank you so much. I really am enjoying it by myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At what age can a young girl or a boy think of sex, or is it necessary or not just to talk about it? You know, in Africa there's no sex education. I think it's now going on. But what age do you think that a boy or a young girl should think about it?
Okay. Sex, thinking about it, talking about it are two different things. But I'll quickly touch on it real quick because I know we're running out of time. Sex education should be something that we should start with our children at a very young age. Yes, you have to tailor it to their age, but I'm telling you guys, if you sit your children down now, sit your 5-year-old down and ask them what is sex. You're not going to have a 5-year-old that'll say, what's that, mommy? Or a 6-year-old. They know. They have an idea. They might not be able to pinpoint and say this is what they have on it, they will laugh. I've done it before.
Absolutely.
I have some little children with me, and I call it because I heard them say something, and I'm like, oh, come and tell me what do you know about sex? And they're like, it's when man and a woman, they had their own. A 5-year-old had what they wanted to say about it. An 8-year-old had what they wanted to say about it. They all have their own. So sex education is something that we should start with our children from an early age. Now, should they be thinking about it?
According to their understanding of it.
According to their understanding, they should not be thinking about it. And the reason being, if you have done a great job with educating them on that, with giving them good sexual education, they know that it's not something I should be thinking about now. They know that it's something that I should wait for. Okay? So please, let's not be like back in the days when you don't want to talk about it, it's a taboo. No. Educate them. Start empowering and educating your children. It even protects them from unnecessary sexual manipulation and abuse that they might go through. Because while you're also giving them some sex education, you are telling them that your private part is for you only. The only person that has a right to touch it is you. So that when they are faced with a situation on the outside, they know that this is not normal and this is not healthy, and they can come to you. So please, we need parents. Gone are the days when we don't want to mention it. Oh, we are afraid to talk about it. Oh, I'm scared. No. Now, if you're not careful, I had a darling sister. I'm sure she's probably watching because she's one of my supporters. She told me one day at about 11, almost midnight, she called me. She was freaking out. What is going on? Because she watched a show where I encourage parents to be more proactive when it comes to checking on their children and making sure they are doing the right thing. She went in her son's room, and her 9-year-old son was looking at pornography. Her 9-year-old son was checking on Google, asking, how do lions have sex?
Wow.
How do animals? They are curious. They want to know. And guess what? I want to be the one to give my children the first education, so that any other one they receive, my education is the foundation that they get.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
It's true. Many people ask me in Finland, that's how did I train especially my boy, because Gabriel is going to 19 and they don't see him in the school like with girls or the stuff. But he knows about sex when he was 8 years old. From me, myself, I told him, I explained to him. And I called one of my Finnish friends. He said, no, he can't. No, African children don't know about it. I said, no, Gabriel, what is the meaning of sex? And he was explaining to my friend, I think she's watching us, Tina. Tina's like, oh my God, I thought African parents don't say this to their children. And it's one of the things that's making him to feel like it doesn't need it now. You always say that, Mommy, if I need it, it's just so narrow that I need to get it. But I don't need it. I'm not ready for it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I love that.
He told me, Mommy, to get it, it's so narrow for me to do anything. It's like, I don't need it. I choose not to need it now. That's what I say.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Preach. I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can a wife or husband still be okay? We asked that question. It's okay. Is it okay to have a work wife or a work husband before marriage?
Let's clarify on work husband or work wife. And it's more common than we think. A work husband or a work wife is somebody of the opposite sex that you meet at work. You guys get close together, you do lunch together, you do all that together. Well, as a single person, it might be okay as a single person. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as both of you are single. Now, let's take it a step further. As a married person, is it advisable to have a work husband or work wife? Absolutely not. And this happens more frequently than we talk about.
When somebody said we have been talking about some version of sex is 18 minutes.
Beautiful. when things are not going okay in a marriage, you find out that people want to start, they need somebody to talk to, and they start having somebody, especially of the opposite sex, at work, who they want to share with, who they want to talk about, who they want them to, talk what's been going on, right? Guess what? That's very, very dangerous. That's a dangerous path to tread. Because before you know it, both of you can get distracted. You start to trust each other. You start feeling like, oh, that's the person I trust. Oh, that's my best friend. And before you know it, you're in each other's beds. You're in each other's pants. You're already crossing boundaries that should not be crossed. So, work husband, work wife, I say absolutely no. If your wife cannot know about them, if they're not family friends with you, then there's no need for that. Same thing with male or female best friends. You cannot have a male best friend that is not friends with your wife. Okay? You cannot have a female best friend that's not friends with your wife, and you cannot have a male best friend that's not friends with your husband. If you're hiding best friends from each other of the opposite sex, there's more to it than you're not talking about.
Wow. Thank you so much, sister.
You're welcome, man.
How much marital issues should be shared with family and friends?
Now, this is something that we need to be careful about, because again, no man is an island. We all need someone to talk to. But then at the same time, you want to be careful and filter who you are actually speaking to. You cannot be talking to everybody about your marital issues, because everybody's going to come with their own opinion. Everybody's going to come with their own idea. What's working for them, unfortunately, might not work for your own marriage. So what I would say, based on my experience, I would say you must be a trusted person. And a trusted person does not have to be family. Some family members will never give you the right advice. Some parents will never give you the right advice. If you have tried it once and you're like, I'm not comfortable with this advice I'm getting, don't go back there. Because some people will drag you and make you lose out, right, before you realize it. Go to somebody that you trust, that your spirit agrees with, okay, and that are giving you healthy advice. Don't talk to everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry about your marriage. It's not worth. The best thing you can do for yourself: seek professional help, seek a counselor. If you trust your church, your pastor, if you trust them and they give healthy advice, seek them. Okay, seek an elder who will give you healthy advice. But don't make it a habit to be talking about your marriage to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You're setting yourself up for failure.
Wow. I really enjoyed every moment with you, Sister Shaun. I'm so happy. There's one thing. Only one thing I want to ask more. You're so amazing woman. You are powerful, strong.
Thank you, Mel.
And you have empowered. You have empowered a lot of women out there. What is the next thing in your agenda that you want to push forward to help more women out there? What is the next thing that you just feel like, yes, I just have to do? What should we be expecting from you?
Oh my goodness. All right. I still stay on the path of empowerment. And empowerment can be in different ways. Okay. So I am currently working on building a network of women.
Amen.
Where women, it's going to be like a hub where women can find all the support they need when it comes to being empowered. Because I know that there are some strong women and there are some women who are coming up. And no matter how much we try to say, oh, women bring down women, I know there are still some women who look to empowering other women. Sister Deborah, you and I connected on Facebook too. And we have formed a sisterhood We have formed a bond. You have looked out for me in many ways. You've told me, oh, Session, we're doing this together, whatever. Session, let's do this. I connect with you in a positive way. And that's why I keep encouraging other women. Yeah, I know there are women who have hurt you. I know there are women who have betrayed you. But you need to find another tribe of women if you have been in the wrong tribe. So I'm looking to look for a strong network of women that have found themselves, that have found their purpose, that are strong. I want us all to network and come together under a roof and be able to bring forward another tribe in different areas, different countries, different areas, exactly. So that when you are under that roof, if you need financial empowerment, you know who to go to. If you need to network for business, you know who to go to. You need marital support, you know who to go to. You can get all of that under the same roof. And that's what I'm working on. And I pray God blesses me to do that.
I love that. I really love that. And I'm so happy. And how can a lot of people are watching it and a lot of people are going to watch it again? And how can women or young girls out there or even men can contact you if they are going through this?
Okay, great. I can be reached on social media platforms. Seun Obajolu, SeunObajolu. That's the same name on Facebook, same name on Instagram. I'm starting to be more active on Instagram, but you can always reach me on that. If you actually need a little bit more support and counseling, then I can give you my WhatsApp for us to connect even closer. So for now, please, on Facebook, I'm way past 5,000, but please click on the follow and you have access to me and every of my posts. And of course, please follow me on Instagram also. Same name, Seun Obajolu, Obajolu.
Thank you so much, sister. I really enjoyed this moment with you. I've been waiting for this for so long. And I'm so happy, like, the mission accomplished. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Deborah. And before I go, I would like to actually appreciate you also. You might not be as vocal as I am. You might not have a loud mouth like I do. But in your own way, Sister Deborah, you are empowering. You're doing that.
Don't need to cry. I'm very emotional person.
I know. You're one person who has used your pain. In case anybody's watching and I'm meeting Sister Deborah for the first time, you know, I will always tell you women who you should connect with. She's one person. If you've not connected with her, please connect with her. She's one person who has not allowed her pain to bring her down also, but she has gone through her pain and Sister Deborah went through a lot of abuse as a young child. Yeah, I will share your story. She went through a lot of abuse. She grew up without without parents. She got bounced from one home to another, and today she thrives. Today she has an empire of her own. She has a cosmetic line. She has a non-profit organization that's empowering women all over. You're blessing orphans. You are an inspiration. You might not be celebrated enough. You might not be acknowledged enough, but I want you to know that you are an inspiration. You empower me. I always joke, you're my prophetess. I mean, I'll be like, Deborah, pray for me or pray for me. You know me. Don't I know. Right. So yeah, thank you for everything that you do. And I thank you for the past that what we've done together in the past. And I look forward to many more that we're going to do together. You're a powerful woman, but very, very humble. Very humble. You're just...
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. May God bless you so much. Thank you. I love you so much. I can't wait to see you at August.
I can't wait. I can't wait to come see you. Thank you so much. I love you. Love you so much. Thank you. All right. Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.